And a couple other things when we're talking about unique Vancouver Island things for to look out for if you're looking at a home. There's even some differences between Victoria and Nanaimo, or Nanaimo to Sayward, or there's that's why you see a lot of agents who are Victoria specific, just work in Victoria, or people in Nanaimo who are Nanaimo specific. You don't see a lot of crossover between those two markets. And, I think that because there is a lot of nuances between the two. Victoria takes their heritage sites and their heritage buildings, historical buildings, quite seriously. And there can be pretty stringent with the rules of what you can and cannot do to an old historical building. And that's something that you really have to look out for if you're looking at some of these older character homes and you're like, wow, this is great. What a lovely old home, but I want to paint it a certain color, or I want to renovate it a certain way.
Redo the kitchen, or put something in there.
Or update the windows. You know, those are all things that potentially, you could buy the home and then you go to do this work and someone from the city shows up at your door and says, actually,
those windows you just paid $35,000 for.
Yeah,
take them out.
Exactly. But and in Nanaimo, we're far less strict with what you can and cannot do. There's very few historical buildings that the city will put their foot down. The Bastion,
which is a funny one, I think. When you told me that, I didn't know.
Yeah, it's like that's really the Bastion, which is our really old. It's more of a tourist attraction. No one's living in it.
Yeah.
Is one of the only buildings in Nanaimo you can't change.
Yeah.
And that's interesting, because you see a lot of these homes, you would think, wow, this is over 100 years old, looks pretty original. Would we be able to do any renovations or even touch anything about this home? And most of the time it's go for it. We'll give you some suggestions. Hey, paint it a certain color, or make sure if you want to keep the historical integrity, here are some suggestions, but they can't force you to.
And have you dealt with that? Like, I've never dealt with that personally. Like, I've never had a client buy a house old enough. I guess I had my mom buy an older house where it wasn't any historical stuff. We checked, it was all good. But I've actually never dealt with having some suggestions provided, and
it's great. I was quite surprised. I had a client of mine who was looking at a home on Victoria Ave, which is not in Victoria but in Nanaimo, close to downtown. And it was a home that was, I think, built in 1901 or something like that. And it was this grand Victorian style home, and was spectacular looking, and had a lot of its original integrity. And I went to the historical society with the city of Nanaimo and was like, hey, clients potentially interested in buying this home, what can and what can't they do to the property in regards to renovations? And they're like, well, we would suggest to keep this type of paint, and we'd suggest all these things, but legally they could do whatever they want. And I was quite surprised to hear that. But it's, one thing, if you're driving around Nanaimo, you might notice a lot of BC box style homes. And it was back in the day, that was the cheapest way to build a house, and it was a very popular way to build a house. And there's all these character homes that were getting knocked down, and a slew of these 70s, 80s style homes that were just built. So we have whole neighborhoods that look like the BC box style.
Well,
home.
I guess, and I can understand why you said it's literally a box. A big rectangle. So usually you see a 4-bed, 2-bath, or whatever it is, right?
Easy to change,
easy to renovate, and those actually jumped up quite a bit in price now, because you see a lot of people putting suites in them too, right?
Yeah, well, it's it's a great template. It's size wise and layout wise, it's very easy to adjust and change. But
talking about Nanaimo a lot, so you're talking about knocking stuff down and building new homes like these BC boxes and stuff. Like Nanaimo, like unlike Vancouver and other places in Victoria, is like you have a lot bigger lot sizes here, right? Like you're getting 0.15, 0.2 of an acre, like these old, these old city lots kind of thing that you just don't get now. You see them getting rezoned to 0.1 of an acre, and they have these skinny houses with a little bit of a backyard, but you have 6 foot between your neighbor, right? So that's
basically a townhouse, but not.
Yeah, right. Exactly, right. So that's kind of interesting.